In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NHL games happening on April 13, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets. As we provide these videos on a daily basis, I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NHL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. San Jose Sharks versus Nashville Predators. There's something poetic about a team fighting for its postseason life hosting a squad that has been, quite frankly, its personal punching bag all season long. Nashville rolls into tonight's matchup at Bridgestone Arena carrying a 38-32-10 record and sitting ninth in the Western Conference with 86 points, just 3 points behind the Los Angeles Kings for that coveted second wild card spot. This is not a casual Monday night for the Predators. This is a we might not have a tomorrow kind of game, and if you've watched any hockey in April, you know that desperation is one of the most dangerous fuels a team can burn. San Jose, on the other hand, limps into Nashville holding a 37-34-8 record, good for 11th in the West and 82 points, sitting outside the playoff picture and losers of 3 consecutive games. The Sharks dropped a 4-3 shootout loss at home to Vancouver just yesterday, got demolished 6-1 by Anaheim on Thursday, and were blasted 5-2 by Edmonton before that. That's not a team riding momentum. That's a team gasping for air. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable for San Jose. These two teams have already played each other twice this season, and Nashville won both meetings by the exact same score, 6-3. Not one of those games was close, either. Back on March 25th in Nashville, the Predators hung 5 goals in the first period alone and never looked back. Then on April 5th, Nashville went into Sapp Center, San Jose's own building, and did the exact same thing, winning 6-3 again. Filip Forsberg has been an absolute nightmare for the Sharks in this series, having scored at least 1 goal in each of his last 7 games against San Jose. That kind of individual dominance against a specific opponent doesn't happen by accident. Forsberg, who leads the Predators with 38 goals and 73 points this season, simply has San Jose's number. And he's not even alone. Steven Stamkos just potted his 40th goal of the season in Saturday's 2-1 win over Minnesota, marking the 8th time in his legendary career he's reached that milestone. Ryan O'Reilly, the steadiest two-way center you could ask for, sits at 25 goals and 48 assists for 73 points and brings a level of veteran poise that matters so much in these late-season pressure cookers. Nashville also got captain Roman Josi back in the lineup on Saturday after he missed Thursday's game in Utah with an upper body injury. Josi looked fine, played a full game, and the Predators came away with the win, which is exactly the kind of boost a locker room needs heading into a must-win stretch. The motivation gap here is canyon-wide. Nashville is playing for its playoff lives with its final homestand unfolding, and the entire organization has an added emotional layer with general manager Barry Trotz set to retire after this season. You don't think that locker room wants to send their GM out with one more playoff run. Meanwhile, San Jose is essentially playing out the string. Yes, they have the magnificent Macklin Celebrini, who's put up over 100 points this season in one of the most jaw-dropping teenage campaigns the NHL has ever seen. But even Celebrini, as electric as he is, couldn't prevent the Sharks from being outscored in both head-to-head meetings. San Jose's defense has been a sieve all year, allowing 3.57 goals per game, which ranks near the bottom of the league, and their penalty kill sits at just 75.7%, a number that practically begs Nashville's power play, clicking at 22.7% to pile on. The Sharks have also gone a dismal 16-20-2 on the road this season, while Nashville's home record of 21-15-3 tells a very different story about how Bridgestone Arena treats visitors. And if the historical trends aren't enough to make your jaw drop, try this. Nashville has won 15 straight games against San Jose, and the Sharks have lost 8 consecutive games at Bridgestone Arena, 15 straight. At a certain point, a trend stops being a trend and starts being a rule. There is so much working in Nashville's favor tonight, from the desperation factor, to the home ice advantage, to the head-to-head dominance, to the returning star power on the blue line. And we haven't even mentioned that San Jose's goaltending situation has been turbulent all year, with Yaroslav Askarov battling multiple injuries and Alex Nedeljkovic carrying a heavy workload. As our first pick for this matchup, the Nashville Predators money line is our full game side pick. And when you look at the scoreboard history between these two clubs this season, the first thing that jumps off the page is goals, and lots of them. The two prior meetings produced a combined 18 goals, which averages out to 9 goals per game. That's not a typo. In the March 25th game alone, Nashville scored 5 goals in the opening period, and the game finished 6-3 with a combined 49 shots on goal. The April 5th rematch was no different, finishing 6-3 again with a combined 61 shots on goal. Both teams were firing pucks from every angle, and neither goaltending group did much to slow the bleeding. San Jose allows 3.57 goals per game this season, which is one of the worst marks in the entire league. Their penalty kill at 75.7% essentially turns every trip to the box into a coin flip for the opposition to score. Nashville, while not elite defensively either, allows 3.24 goals per game, which means neither of these teams is built to play low-scoring chess matches. This is a matchup that practically screams offensive fireworks. Nashville's power play has been humming all year at 22.7%, and in both prior meetings against San Jose, special teams played a massive role in the scoring. In the April 5th game, Nashville went 2 for 4 on the power play and even added a short-handed goal for good measure. Forsberg, Stamkos, Jossi on the point that Nashville power play has way too many weapons for a Sharks penalty kill that simply can't keep up. And it's not like San Jose can't contribute to the scoreboard themselves. Celebrini, with his 42 goals and 110 points, is a generational talent who can produce against anyone. The kid has factored into 46% of every single goal the Sharks have scored this season, which is a staggering number. Will Smith has chipped in with 22 goals of his own, Kiefer Sherwood has 21, and Colin Graf has 20. San Jose actually averages 3 goals per game this season, so even when they lose, they tend to find the back of the net. Both offenses have shown they can light the lamp against each other, and neither defense has demonstrated the ability to shut the other side down. When you combine San Jose's leaky defense, Nashville's playoff desperation fueling aggressive offense, a historical pattern of 9 combined goals per head-to-head meeting this year, and the fact that both teams feature multiple 20-plus goal scorers who have already proven they can produce in this specific matchup, the recipe is pretty clear. This isn't a game that's likely to end 2-1. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Buffalo Sabres versus Chicago Blackhawks. There's a particular kind of energy that surrounds a team that's shaken off more than a decade of heartbreak, and right now, that energy is pulsing through every shift Buffalo takes on the ice. This franchise went through what was the longest active playoff drought in all of hockey, 14 years without a sniff of postseason air. And yet here they are sitting at 49-23-8 on the season, good for first place in the Atlantic Division with 106 points. That's not just a bounce back, that's a full-blown resurrection. And how they got here makes the story even more compelling, because after a sluggish 14-4 start, the organization made a bold front office change in December, and this group responded with one of the most dominant stretches any NHL team has put together in nearly 30 years, going 32-6-2 over a 40-game run. That kind of sustained excellence doesn't happen by accident. You look at this roster and the depth just jumps out. Todd Thompson sitting at 38 goals and 79 points through 80 games. Alex Tuch racking up 31 goals with a +22 rating. And their captain Rasmus Dahlin quarterbacking the blue line with 19 goals and 72 points of his own. Zach Benson has been quietly cooking with 12 points in his last 14 games, and that second wave of production from guys like Josh Doan, Josh Norris, and Jack Quinn makes this team incredibly hard to game plan against. Now flip the script and look at what's waiting on the other side of the ice tonight. Chicago sits at 28-37-14, dead last in the Central Division, and they've been mathematically eliminated from postseason contention for the 6th consecutive season. The Blackhawks are also banged up in a really significant way on the back end. They've lost both Artyom Levshunov and Matt Grzelcyk for the remainder of the season, gutting their defensive course at the worst possible time. Frank Nazar just took a puck to the face against St. Louis on Friday and is listed as day-to-day, so depth up front isn't exactly in great shape either. And here's what really seals it. Buffalo has owned this head-to-head matchup like few rivalries in the league right now. The Sabres are riding an 8-0-1 record in their last 9 meetings against Chicago, including a 9-3 blowout back in November. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is expected to get the start tonight, and this guy has been absolutely locked in on the road, posting a .937 save percentage over his last 13 road appearances. Buffalo is also 20-7-3 against the Western Conference this season, and they still have real motivation here. 2 more points clinch home ice advantage in the first round, and 3 more lock up the division title. Chicago, on the other hand, is playing out the string with nothing on the line. As our first pick for this matchup, the Buffalo Sabres money line is our full game side pick. When you pair up an offense that scored 275 goals this season, which ranks 5th in the entire NHL, against a defense that surrendered 258 goals and ranks 25th out of 32 teams, you're looking at a recipe that heavily favors traffic around both nets. Chicago's struggles in their own zone have been well documented all year, and losing Levshunov and Grzelcyk on the blue line has only poured gasoline on that fire. They've been leaking goals at an alarming pace down the stretch, getting torched 7-2 by Carolina just a few days ago and dropping a 5-3 decision to St. Louis on Friday night. That's 12 combined goals in just 2 games, and tonight's opponent is considerably more dangerous than either of those teams offensively. And honestly, the last time these two squads met, the scoreboard looked like a basketball game, with Buffalo rolling to a 9-3 victory where just about every forward on the ice found a way to contribute. That's 12 total goals in a single meeting, and neither team has gotten more conservative since then. Buffalo's been scoring in bunches during their current 3-game winning streak, pumping in 5 goals in each of their last 3 outings, 5 against Columbus, 5 against the Rangers, and 4 against Tampa before that. They've got the firepower to pile up goals against anyone, and when they're facing a team that can't keep pucks out of its own net, well, you can do the math. What makes this angle even juicier is that Chicago isn't going to just roll over offensively either. Connor Bedard has 73 points this season, including 30 goals, and even though he's cooled off a bit lately, he's still one of the most dangerous shot creators in the league at just 20 years old. Rookie Anton Frendel has looked sharp since his call-up with 9 points in just 10 games, and Ilya Mikheyev had a 2-goal night against St. Louis on Friday. So there's enough offensive pop on Chicago's side to chip in and keep the pace up, even if their defense can't hold up its end of the bargain. It's the combination of Buffalo's relentless attack meeting Chicago's porous blue line that creates the kind of environment where both teams are going to find the back of the net plenty of times. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Los Angeles Kings versus Seattle Kraken. There's something about a team that's already been told their season is over that makes them incredibly dangerous. You won't find that in any stat sheet, but it's real. The Seattle Kraken sit at 34-11 on the year, eliminated from the postseason, and honestly, that might be exactly why this is the wrong team to bet against tonight. When you strip away the pressure of a playoff chase, what you're left with is a group of athletes who can just play hockey, loose and free, with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Kings roll in at 34-26-19, clinging to that second wild card spot in the Western Conference, and you can feel the tension from here. Every game for Los Angeles right now feels like a playoff game before the playoffs even start. That kind of weight does something to a team. It tightens you up. It makes you overthink in moments where instinct should take over. Here's the thing about this particular matchup, though. It's not just about vibes and pressure. The Kraken have owned the Kings this entire season. Seattle has won all 3 previous meetings between these two clubs in 2025-26, and if you stretch it out further, the Kings are just 1-5 in their last 6 games against Seattle. That's not a fluke. That's a pattern. There's something about the way Seattle matches up against Los Angeles that just gives them fits, and that identity doesn't vanish just because the Kraken's postseason dreams are gone. On top of that, the underdogs have won each of the last 6 games when these two teams have squared off. Let that marinate for a second. 6 straight, and it's not like Los Angeles is rolling into Seattle at full strength. The Kings lost Kevin Fiala for the entire remainder of the season after he suffered fractures in his left lower leg during the Olympics back in February. That's their second leading scorer, gone. Then Andrei Kuzmenko went down with a torn meniscus that required surgery. And as of the latest reports, he's still skating on his own and nowhere close to rejoining the team. So two significant offensive weapons are just missing from the equation entirely. Yes, the Kings added Artemi Panarin in that blockbuster trade from the Rangers back in February, and he's been productive with 83 points in 75 games this season. But even his arrival can't fully patch the holes left by losing Fiala and Kuzmenko simultaneously. The Kings rank 29th in goals per game at just 2.67, and that number tells you everything about how this team has struggled to put the puck in the net even before these injuries compounded things. Now flip the script to Seattle. The Kraken are coming off back-to-back wins, a 4-1 victory over Calgary and a 4-3 shootout win against Vegas. That's 2 games in a row where Seattle found a way to win, and momentum like that matters, especially for a young group that features guys like Berkeley Catton and Shane Wright, who are still hungry to prove they belong at this level. Captain Jordan Eberle has been steady all year with 26 goals, and this is a team playing at Climate Pledge Arena, where the atmosphere can get legitimately loud and uncomfortable for visiting teams. The Kraken are 5-0 in their last 5 games as a home underdog. That's not a coincidence. That's a team that rises to the occasion when the odds makers overlook them. You combine that home ice energy, the season series dominance, a Kings team missing key pieces and carrying the weight of a do-or-die stretch, and you've got a recipe for the underdog to bite back one more time. As our first pick for this matchup, the Seattle Kraken money line is our full game side pick. Both of these teams have something in common that doesn't get talked about enough, and it's what makes tonight's total so intriguing. Neither team can kill penalties to save their lives. The Kraken own the worst penalty kill in the entire NHL at 71.5%. Let that sink in. Nearly 3 out of every 10 power plays against Seattle results in a goal. The Kings aren't much better either, sitting at 28th in the league with a 74.9% penalty kill rate. When you put 2 teams on the ice that are that porous on the kill, you're practically begging for extra goals. Every whistle, every trip, every hook becomes a golden opportunity for the other team's power play to cash in, and neither of these clubs has shown the ability to slam that door shut. The Kraken's recent scoring patterns tell a compelling story here too. The over has hit in 6 of Seattle's last 10 games, and if you zoom out a little more, the over has cashed in 10 of their last 15. That's a clear trend, and it aligns with what we've been watching all season. When Seattle shows up to play, they tend to create open, free-flowing, high-event hockey. They've scored 3 or more goals in 43 games this season, going 32-7-4 in those contests. And here's a wild little nugget. The over 1.5 goals in the second period has hit in each of Seattle's last 6 games. So if you're watching this one live, don't get up for snacks during the second period because that's when things tend to get spicy. Los Angeles' desperation adds another layer to this. The Kings need every point they can get in this playoff race, and that means they can't sit back and play a passive, defensive shell game. They're going to push. They have to push. Panarin was brought in specifically to add offensive firepower, and interim head coach DJ Smith, who took over after Jim Hiller was fired back on March 1st, has been trying to get this team to play with more swagger and more conviction in the attacking zone. When you've got a desperate team pushing for offense against a Kraken squad that's been eliminated and has nothing to protect, you get wide-open hockey. Both sides have incentive to play aggressively tonight. The Kings because their season depends on it, and the Kraken because they're liberated from consequence and just want to put on a show for their home fans in one of the final games at Climate Pledge Arena this year. And honestly, even the computer models are backing a high-scoring affair. Multiple projection systems have this game landing at a combined 7 goals, with a common prediction of 4-3. When you factor in the atrocious penalty killing on both sides, the Kraken's recent scoring trends, Los Angeles' offensive desperation, and the historical pattern of these two teams trading goals when they meet, the math and the eye test both point in the same direction. This one has the makings of an up and down, back and forth, entertaining hockey game on a Monday night under the national spotlight on ESPN. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Colorado Avalanche versus Edmonton Oilers. Sometimes the best thing a team can do heading into the playoffs is prove it can win ugly, win banged up, and win when nothing about the situation feels comfortable. That's exactly the test the Colorado Avalanche are walking into tonight in Edmonton, and honestly, they might be built to pass it better than anyone else in hockey right now. Colorado rolls into Rogers Place carrying the best record in the entire NHL at 52-16-11 on the year, good enough for 115 points and the President's Trophy already locked up. This is a franchise that has been sitting at the top of the league standings practically since November, and even with the regular season winding down, this group hasn't taken its foot off the gas. Here's where it gets interesting though, because the Avalanche are dealing with some significant absences tonight. Head coach Jared Bednar took a puck to the face during Saturday's overtime loss to Vegas and suffered facial fractures along with a corneal abrasion, meaning assistant coaches Dave Hackstall and Nolan Pratt are running the bench for this one. Star defenseman Cale Makar has been out since late March with an upper body injury. Trade deadline acquisition Nazem Kadri is sidelined with a finger injury. Josh Manson's availability is questionable after leaving Saturday's game. On paper, that looks rough. But here's the thing, this Colorado roster is so deep it's almost unfair. Nathan MacKinnon, who leads the NAHL with 52 goals and 126 points on the season, is very much healthy and very much locked in right now. The man has posted 4 goals and 5 assists over his last 6 outings while chasing what would be a new career high in goals. General manager Chris McFarland loaded this team up at the trade deadline too, bringing in Kadri from Calgary, Nicholas Roy from Toronto, Brett Kulak from Pittsburgh, and Nick Blankenburg from Nashville. Brock Nelson, acquired last season from the Islanders, gives them arguably the deepest center group in the sport. Martin Necas continues to produce on the wing. This is a roster that can absorb losses to the lineup and keep humming. Now flip over to the Edmonton side of things, and the injury picture is honestly way more concerning. Leon Draisaitl, one of the most dangerous offensive players on the planet, hasn't played since March 15th due to a lower body injury. That's nearly a full month without him. Zach Hyman has missed the last several games with an undisclosed issue. Matthias Janmark had season-ending surgery. Jason Dickinson, a deadline addition from Chicago, has a leg injury and his status remains murky at best. That's a massive chunk of Edmonton's forward depth just gone. Connor McDavid has been absolutely sensational this year with 47 goals and 133 points in 80 games, and he's clearly capable of willing this team to wins on any given night. Nobody is going to sit here and tell you McDavid can't take over a hockey game, because he obviously can. But even McDavid can only do so much when the supporting cast is this thin. Edmonton's defensive profile tells a story all by itself, giving up 3.29 goals against per game, which ranks 26th in the NHL. Their penalty kill sits at 76.9%, also 26th. Compare that to Colorado, a team allowing only 2.47 goals against per game, which is first in the league, with a penalty kill running at a league-best 84.1%. It's a pretty stark contrast in terms of defensive identity right now. The Oilers also just got shut out 1-0 by the Los Angeles Kings on Saturday, so they're not exactly riding a wave of momentum into tonight. Colorado has owned games against quality opponents all year. They beat the Stars on the road, won in Washington, handled Pittsburgh away from home, and they didn't need a full roster to do any of it. The system Bednar has built runs deeper than one man behind the bench, and that's been proven time and again this season. With Edmonton missing so many key pieces and Colorado still deploying one of the most well-rounded rosters in hockey, even without a few stars, the talent gap between these two clubs tonight tilts pretty clearly toward the visitors. As our first pick for this matchup, the Colorado Avalanche money line is our full game side pick. When you look at the offensive profiles of these two clubs, your first instinct should be to grab a calculator because the math just screams production. Colorado is averaging 3.7 goals per game this season, the most in the entire NAHL. Edmonton is right there too at 3.44 goals per game, which puts them in the top 5 in the league in scoring. That's a combined average north of 7 goals every time these teams take the ice, and that number isn't just a fluke or driven by a couple of blowouts. Both of these rosters are wired to push pace and generate chances. The last time Colorado and Edmonton met, back on March 11th in Denver, the final score was 4-3 in Edmonton's favor. 7 goals in that one, and that was with both teams arguably healthier than they are right now. You'd think missing guys might slow the scoring down, but honestly, it often has the opposite effect. When depth guys get elevated into roles they're not accustomed to, defensive structure tends to get a little looser, a little more chaotic, and that chaos tends to breed goals. Here's what really catches your eye though. Edmonton's penalty kill is sitting at 76.9%, which ranks 26th in the league. That's a problem because Colorado generates an absurd volume of chances and shots on the man advantage. Nathan MacKinnon alone has 30 power play points this season. On the flip side, Edmonton's power play is the best in the NHL at a scorching 31.4%. So even if Edmonton is shorthanded in terms of bodies tonight, when they do get man advantages, they convert at an elite rate, and a lot of that is driven by McDavid and his league-leading 133 points. Both teams are going to find ways to put the puck in the net. The recent game logs back this up in a big way. Colorado just played a game against Vancouver that finished 8-6. Before that, they hung 9 on Calgary in a 9-2 rout. Even their tighter games lately have produced goals, like the 3-2 overtime loss to Vegas on Saturday and the 3-1 win over St. Louis. Edmonton has been similarly volatile. They beat San Jose 5-2 just a few days ago, lost a wild one in Utah 6-5, and got blanked 1-0 by the Kings on Saturday. That shutout feels more like an outlier than a trend for a team that generates this much offense, especially with McDavid coming off a hat trick and 5-point night against the Sharks. MacKinnon has been cooking too, with 4 goals and 5 assists in his last 6 games. When both of your leading scorers are running that hot, the goals tend to follow. Edmonton's defensive vulnerabilities, that 3.29 goals against average and that leaky penalty kill, create real opportunities for a Colorado team that doesn't need a second invitation to capitalize. And Colorado's own willingness to trade chances, especially on the road with nothing to play for in the standings, suggests they won't be sitting back in a shell either. Both teams have the firepower, both teams have defensive question marks tonight, and both teams play a style that creates chaos and chances in waves. When you put all of that together, the arrow points pretty clearly in one direction for tonight's scoring output. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Winnipeg Jets versus Vegas Golden Knights. There's something about a team with its back against the wall that makes them unpredictable, even dangerous. The Winnipeg Jets walk into T-Mobile Arena tonight sitting at 35-32-12 on the season, 5 points below the final wildcard spot in the Western Conference, with just 3 games left on their schedule. That's 6 possible points remaining, and they need every single one of them. Their season is hanging by a thread so thin you can barely see it, and everyone in that locker room knows it. Now, what makes this situation fascinating is that Winnipeg is coming off one of their ugliest performances of the year, a 7-1 beatdown at home against Philadelphia on Saturday. That's the kind of loss that either buries a team for good or lights a fire so hot that whoever they play next has a serious problem on their hands. And if you've been around hockey long enough, you know that desperate teams coming off humiliating losses are some of the most dangerous opponents in the sport. Captain Adam Lowry said it best after that disaster: the Jets have to pick up every point the rest of the way. Josh Morrissey echoed the same urgency. Head coach Scott Arniel isn't sugarcoating anything either, saying if the pressure is too much for anyone, they're in the wrong business. That kind of honesty, that kind of raw accountability, tends to produce a very focused group of players in the next game. Here's the thing about the Jets, though. Before that Philly collapse, Winnipeg had won 4 of their last 5 games. They've actually been 4-1 in their last 5 road contests, which matters a lot when you're heading into someone else's building. And when these two teams met back on March 24th, Winnipeg went into Vegas and dominated with a 4-1 victory. That was before the Golden Knights changed coaches, sure, but the Jets proved they can handle the speed and physicality that Vegas brings. Speaking of that coaching change, John Tortorella has been behind the Vegas bench for only about 2 weeks now. He's done a remarkable job going 5-0-1 since taking over, but let's be honest, there's a difference between riding a new coach energy wave and having a fully installed system that can weather adversity. Tortorella himself has admitted he's still learning names, still getting a feel for his players, and still relying heavily on his assistants to assemble line combinations. That's not a knock on him, it's just the reality of a coaching change with 8 games left in the regular season. You have to wonder if some of that unfamiliarity starts showing cracks when a team comes in playing like their entire livelihood depends on one game, because for Winnipeg, it basically does. The other piece of this puzzle is goaltending, and nobody should be sleeping on Connor Hellebuyck in a must-win spot. Yes, his numbers this year aren't what we've come to expect, sitting around a .899 save percentage and a 2.74 goals against average across 55 starts. But this is still a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner. This is still the reigning Hart Trophy winner from last season. This is the guy who just backstopped Team USA to an Olympic gold medal in February, including a 41-save masterpiece in the gold medal game against Canada where he stopped breakaways from Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini. His teammate Matthew Tkachuk called that performance one of the best of all time. When Hellebuyck is locked in, he can steal any game from any opponent on any ice surface. And if there was ever a night for him to summon that kind of performance, it's tonight. Before the Philly debacle, Hellebuyck had stopped 57 of 62 shots during a 3-game winning streak. He has the ability to flip a switch, and a team fighting for its life with a goalie of his caliber is not something you want to bet against lightly. Vegas, meanwhile, just played an overtime game in Denver against the league-leading Colorado Avalanche on Saturday night. They won 3-2 in overtime and clinched their playoff spot, which is great for them, but now they have to fly home and turn around for a Monday night game. That's not a true back-to-back, but it's close enough to raise questions about leg freshness. The Golden Knights are also locked in a 3-way battle for first place in the Pacific Division with Edmonton and Anaheim, so they have motivation to keep pushing. But there's a subtle psychological thing happening here. You just clinched your playoff spot, you just went through a grueling 4-game road trip where you collected 7 of 8 possible points, and now you're home for the first time in a while. There's a natural tendency, even among the most competitive athletes, to exhale just a little bit in that situation. Combine that with Winnipeg's sheer desperation, and you've got a recipe for an upset. Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor have been carrying the offensive load for the Jets all year, and games like this are exactly where elite players earn their legacies. Vegas is 2-4 in their last 6 home games, which suggests that T-Mobile Arena hasn't exactly been a fortress lately. As our first pick for this matchup, the Winnipeg Jets money line is our full game side pick. Everything about the way both of these teams have been playing recently points toward a tight, low-event hockey game tonight. The Golden Knights have gone under the projected total in 9 of their last 10 games. Let that sink in for a second, because that's not a small sample fluke. That's a pattern. In their last 18 games overall, Vegas has gone under 13 times. When you extend it to Western Conference opponents specifically, Vegas has gone under in 12 of their last 15 matchups. And against Central Division teams like Winnipeg, the under has hit in 5 of Vegas's last 5 games. The trend is screaming at you from every angle. When you look at how Vegas has been scoring and defending under Tortorella, the picture gets even clearer. Their recent results tell the whole story: 4-2, 2-1, 4-3 in a shootout, and 3-2 in overtime. 4 of those 5 games produced 5 or fewer combined goals in regulation. Tortorella's coaching philosophy has always been built around a north-south, direct attack mentality with an emphasis on defensive structure. He's talked about wanting his team to play faster and more direct since day one in Vegas, and the result has been tight, grinding games where every goal feels like it takes enormous effort. That's the Torts experience, and it's showing up in the box scores every single night. On Winnipeg's side, the under trends are just as strong. The Jets have gone under in 10 of their last 14 games against Western Conference opponents. Against Pacific Division teams specifically, the under has cashed in 4 of Winnipeg's last 5 matchups. And when these two teams play each other, the under has connected in 4 of their last 6 meetings. There's a reason for all of this. A Jets team in desperation mode doesn't play an open, freewheeling style. They tighten up, they protect the puck, they collapse into their defensive structure and try to limit chances against, because they simply cannot afford to get into a back-and-forth track meet when one goal against feels like the end of the world. That mentality, combined with a coach like Arniel who has preached disciplined play all season, means Winnipeg is going to play this one close to the vest. The goaltending matchup supports a low total as well. Carter Hart has been absolutely brilliant since returning from a lower body injury on April 2nd. He's won 4 straight starts and allowed just 7 goals on 97 shots across those 4 victories, good for a .928 save percentage in that stretch. His performance against Colorado on Saturday, stopping 30 of 32 shots including a massive save on Nathan MacKinnon in overtime, showed that he's in playoff form right now. On the other end, even in a season where his numbers haven't been elite, Hellebuyck still has the ability to put on a clinic. When both goalies are feeling it and the coaching strategies on both sides emphasize structure over chaos, you get a game that's going to be decided by 1 or 2 goals. There's really nothing in the matchup profile, the trends, the coaching styles, or the situational dynamics that suggests a wide-open, high-scoring affair tonight. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.